to do a reading on Andry Romero, the fellow that is unfortunately been kidnapped as he was getting his waiting on his paperwork to come through because he was under threat from where he came from in Venezuela due to the fact that he's gay. And people are wanting to make sure that on Andry is still alive. Uh, it's been like 70 days, I think, at this point. I read today, about 4 hours ago, that's been about 70 days since he's kidnapped off the streets and taken. So I'm just going to check uh, on his well-being and him coming back and what it looks like. So let's just take a look in on his well-being at Andry's well-being. I'm getting the Ace of Swords. There's some kind of clarity that he's recently received, new information, a new beginning, significant. And it has to do with, him. He wants, to me, this can also be a card of like homesickness or, separation from where you want to be, and that being taken away like that. Mentally, it's not good for him as well with this card. Um, it's a real betrayal of his trust as well with the Three of Swords. He's clear on that. This is done, out of cruelty. No kidding, but there's got to be something more here. All right. I do feel like with these two cards that he's alive, actually, but he's suffering mentally, especially with what he's having to deal with and be subjected to there. An ace of wands as well. I'm sure this is violence and unwanted advances, shall we say, if you could use the word advances, because it's really not that, but unwanted attention and sexual attention is a concern too with that Ace of Wands. And here we have wanting to get the hell out of there and to get things going in a better direction and not to stay there. He wants to get the heck out of there. So with these two cards, I think that he knows that they're making the case that he's mentally, this is just trauma to him, and there's no reason for it, and that he should be here, and he's looking for when he can leave. That's really what his focus on is, working on getting out of there when he can get that process started. And it's really, I'm getting two cards, the two aces of starts. But I think it's really with the Ace of Swords sinking into him, the the trauma mentally is. And I think he does want away from the unwanted attention that he would get being gay. Um, and things to go better. I feel like that's the people he's working with. That's what's showing up. So I think he is still alive, but he's suffering. Communication, quite possibly here with the magician. Let me see what it's paired with, and waiting. So there's an issue with communication, and I think he's probably doesn't have it regularly. So there's like waiting for that, being able to communicate, receive communications. My guess is like he's really focused on working with uh, trying to get someone to help him on the where he's at there. And he knows, I think, that people are on the other side trying to help him. Now, I don't know at this point of anyone that's been able to reach him, if they have legally or not. Um, but I do see proof of life here in these cards to me, and that he's looking to get out of there, quite understandably, because it's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of violence with the Ace of Wands, and it's directed at him, and it's sexual. He's not comfortable with it. And I see him enduring with the Nine of Wands, but I think that he's already been subjected to rough treatment, um, and dinged up a bit here, but he's more tough than people would think. But still, that's doesn't matter. That's a dangerous place, and he should not be there, especially. And there's looking for alternatives, looking for uh, different ways to escape, even. I think fantasy of escape is in his mind, because I think he is unfortunately going to be in there for a while, and I think it will do him mental trauma, just as I saw with Abrego. These people are being traumatized from being in these places, of course. How else, you know? Um, okay, so that establishes a proof of life and does let us know that, yeah, I think he's been bothered. I think he's had unwanted uh, possible attentions, and he's going to be in there a while until I think they can get him out. Now, I do feel both he and Abrego, I just feel it. Um, I think we'll end up being able to come back here. I don't know if they're going to want to. And I don't know that I don't know that Andre might feel comfortable coming back here until after this administration would be gone. Um, which is probably when he's going to get out anyway. Let's just honestly take a look here. Let me clear my throat. Damn it. Hang on. It did that anyway. Anyway, we're back. I'm wearing my Rebel Red lipstick for, and that's not the name. I'm wearing like about 3 different colors to get the shade I was trying to get. Anyway, I'm wearing my Resistance Red lipsticks. I'm sure somebody will come out with them. All right. Let's look at his coming home. Will he come back to America? Will Andry come back to America? I just got the flash of like he's realizing that if this administration goes, then he might, I think, do that because, but I don't know. I think it could be, I think it's a really good question. Is he going to want to come back to America? Um, I get that he might look in Europe. I know I would. I don't know that I'd want to come back to another a country that did that to me. New people in or not, because if you're not reasonably sure about how stable that is going to be, and I don't know if he is, he might feel differently. So let's just see. Will Andry want to come back to America? I get a yes with the sun. But some things must be clear to him now. And there is the Knight of Cups. There is some sort of an approach, an offer um, to consider, and maybe paperwork and things like that involved, the bureaucratic red tape of places. He's looking maybe at the rest of the paperwork. And the Knight of Pentacles. I think he wants to work here and make a business, like a small business. He is a stylist. I imagine he's a darn good one. Judging by his pictures, he looked, I'd totally say help, help me out and pay him. Um, Queen of Cups, this could be family. This feels like a very sympathetic, empathetic woman that cares very much for him. Okay. Not sure if it's a friend or mother, you know, auntie, sister. There's two women, and I think they could be legal assistants. Maybe this is someone that gets him legal help, or these could be two women that could end up representing him or helping him legally. I know now he does have a lawyer here in the United States. I have to see. I wonder if she's been able to contact him. I don't kind of get that feeling, but right yet. However, with the cards I did get in that first reading, I think it's very possible that she might, in the relatively nearish future, get in contact with him. Maybe that's what those aces were, like the beginning of contact, if he hasn't already been able to establish a phone call of some kind, or if his lawyer hasn't gotten information yet. I think it's coming. And it's not a great deal of information from the feel of it, a lot of aces, but it's a start, right? And the sun on this is good. Um, so I think his attitude on this is smart. There's a lot yet that has to play out that he's knows that he's not that we don't know that he's not seen that that's kind of behind the veil. We have to see how things go, but there's going to be a certainty here. And I think that when it comes to if he wants to come back here, I think it's going to be a yes. And maybe in essence, to not let that administration win, so to speak, not to let Trump's have that win of driving him out from where he wanted to be and to set up a life and uh, uh, a business and so forth. There is help or assistance coming, I think, here. Yes, I think to get him out of there, to spring him with the Fool. But there's uncertainties and fear with the darkness of the moon and these groups that work together, like those in El Salvador and in the Trump administration. And then you've got his lawyers, these small groups of people that are all working in this dark heavy, corrupt time, each with their own agenda. But I see him getting help. We get this card for him again that he's gonna weather the storm. Um, but yeah, he like a Brago, they're all gonna have their own unique trauma of where they've stayed and what they've experienced. And I feel that really so because sometimes when I get the Knight of Wands, this can represent damage to the mind. You've endured some trauma, you've endured some stuff. Sometimes it can actually be injuries from having to defend yourself. You don't come away from that unscathed, and he certainly won't. But we get the heartbreak and that sense of just this this hurts. This goes deep. And having to wait. So it's like a heartbreak in the time that he has got to wait. This is so wrong. And for anyone in that circumstance, it's suffering and it's torture. It is heartbreak and mental trauma and emotional trauma. And it's illegal. This is kidnapping and taking people um, illegally. They have no right to have done this. And connected to these men in power and in authority doing illegal things. Oh, that was the spot. We have childhood and his past coming up as well, and trying to get away from that place and get away from these places. And it must just be so frustrating, scary, nightmare, traumatizing for him. I see more travel though is coming to him. I think. Oh, I think he will eventually get out. But what a horrible thing for anyone to have to sit and wait through. This is a watchfulness and some news that might come forward. It's touch and go. It's a step forward, a step back. They're juggling deals or negotiations, I think, trying to get to him and get establish contact and some kind of regular means to get him out of there. And I don't think El Salvador, Bukele, or the Trump administration is making it helpful for anyone trying to help these people. I feel like this could be like these could be religious people that come to the cause. Let's see what else I get with the Hierophant. And there may be some effort on their part too to try and take up his cause. I see this could also be people that specialize in human rights fields, somebody that is very learned, and there's rules that they know about. That's why lawyers kind of come under this card sometimes as well. I think that his lawyer, the feeling that I'm getting from this reading, because I haven't been able to keep up with anything, I've really got to watch my energy now. Um, but I really think I would say that my cards indicate that it doesn't look like his had much establishment of any communication with his lawyer that he had working for him here. I don't think that he's been able to, and I think it's coming though. I think he will. I think there's some way that it works out that from his end and their end that connection will happen. But so you can see it's a real effort and feel the effort it is. At least I can. That they're sitting there struggling and having to wait and be subjected to more and more trauma the longer that they're in there. And unfortunately, I don't think, it's going to be any time real soon at this time. Just as I felt like with the Brago. Will 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 Andrew make it back to America and establish a life here when he gets out? Will he get out and make it a life in America, in the United States? Will Andrew reestablish himself here? Will he get out? I think he will from the looks that I'm getting, but with the cards. But let's just see, because he get out and come back and establish a life in America. Yes, no. Knight of Pentacles. I think it's, and I want to say yes. Again, this is something with a business, I feel like, and there's something he really wants to do here. And he wants to be able to earn a good living, to live well and be comfortable with the Nine of Pentacles. That there's that whole business angle again with him, and be his own, I think, be his own boss. Um, and grow older, be an established man, a businessman. I get a Queen of Pentacles again, and I'm just feeling like he just feels like this is the place to have this kind of business. And there's family. So, you know, I think he would like to. I think he probably will. I don't know if he has family here, but I keep getting a woman and a sense of family. But it would be more extended, a greater community, that somebody that makes him feel really supported. So whoever is supporting him, where he's was living, that community is important to him, and he's not just willing to go, oh well, no. Again, he wants to work, and he wants to work hard. He wants to work his butt off, and I see him doing it. Look at him, establishing that with the Six of Wands. So I think he will end up coming back here. It's certainly determined in his heart. It looks like to me like he wants very much, especially a business for himself, that he thinks and I bet he could, especially if you're determined, because that's the very least thing you have to be. You face a lot of, it's a very competitive business. Um, So it looks like a yes, and I'm just going to go for a yes, no here. So once again, will Andry be released and establish a life in the United States after this horrible trauma of being kidnapped like this by the Trump administration? Well, there's some things that have yet to pan out that we don't know about, that's behind the curtain of our awareness. It's not come into manifestation in our world yet. But there's a feeling with this high priestess that there's one hell of a lot of activity with those in spirit, that without form, that interact between realms going on. And it will become clear. And I think, yes. And I think he's going to bring clarity to what we didn't know. He wants us to know what happened. He wants the world to know what happened. But I think he knows that there are many more Americans that do not agree with this at all, that are becoming disenchanted with it. Um, I think at heart he knows that. And I think he knows that he's going to last longer than these bunch of clowns at the end of the day. And I think he's banking on it. But yeah, there's a lot of, a sense of separation from is also part of the Three of Swords card of being separated. Like I said, kind of homesick. I think he was liking where he was living and he just feels so disconnected, like unreal. I think he's just numb and it's shock and trauma that has just got him disconnected and feeling numb right now. And maybe wherein would I want to go back there entirely? Maybe he's still making up his mind, but I really see a strong decision at the end of the day that I do think he will end up here. You're going to turn that Three of Swords into the Three of Cups, from suffering to celebration, and calling it home. I think he will make a home here in America, somewhere in America, where he's going to feel like he knows we have his back. Not, in any place where he felt like he doesn't have community. That's a supportive community. So that's very key. So, yes, I think eventually he will. I think, in all honesty, it could take several months yet. I think maybe up to another, I hate to say it, but up to like another year or so. I really do. Um, that grip that Trump has with being able to round up people, he and Miller, they're all behind this uh, to round people up like cattle. And it's awful to even think of cattle as like you just would treat them unfeeling. It's just the most unfeeling thing I've ever seen. So I do see, without going into any kind of yucky details, I do see him suffering indignities there and making it through, but he's going to have a book to write and he's going to have a business to set up. And I hope that he can use some of his name awareness to create a business once he can get on the other side of this. I do see him, according to these cards, coming through eventually. And I think living here and establishing a business. And I'm just going to try my Lenormand deck here too, real quick, with a quick sense of, is he going to make it and come back to America? I think he will make it through this horrible indignity and violation of his being. I think Abrego will too. But both will be traumatized. All will be traumatized, of course. So will Andry make it back to America? Get out of El Salvador? I get house. This means yes. And again, I feel like his home. This is his home. And it's worth fighting for. And child, he's an innocent. He hasn't done anything wrong. And son, yes. And tree. And he will live a long life here. I think also his health will improve once he's here. The sun, there's clarity. I'm sure a lot of the trauma and the depersonalization, the the disconnection will be gone. He'll reconnect back up. And in this case of the Lenormand deck, the tower is not a bad sign. It is actually a protective entity, institute. But let's just see what card comes with it. And we get the garden. And that means to me the support of society. He'll have societal support and protection when he does legal protection. So I think it's also a sign for us that we'll have different people in. Yes, and this is the change. This is the scythe, scythe, and letter. A communication. Communications, I think, of how he was just taken and treated. To me, that he was just uprooted and given, told that, maybe paperwork, you're not allowed here, or we've, looked at it and whatever. And snake. And that was a lie. He should never have been taken. And mountains, and it was going to be a real obstacle to get him back. But he will come back here. And he's meant, I think, to live here. So, I could be wrong. I don't know. But my bet would be that he comes back here from the cards I get for him and that he's able to live through it. I do think he is alive. Keep them lifted up in your prayers to that they make it through because, these are very dangerous places to be in and food, you can get sick there. That'd be the worst. And I do see these men and women that are being sent there definitely coming back with trauma and having to work through it. But there's something that he's going to, Andry, I think, will bring in addition to the world through his experience that the truths that he's going to have to tell us about. All right, if you appreciate readings like this, give me a thumbs up. Would appreciate it. Nutshell, yeah, I see him alive. I do think eventually he gets back here, much like Abrego. I think there's going to be a change occurring in administration probably when that happens. So it's not going to be any time real soon, but it is, ahead of us. So could be about another year. Um, but I don't think probably a whole lot more than that. Year and a half, which is awful. All right. I hope that he comes back sooner. And I hope they're able to break through what looks like a lot of them not making it difficult for them to contact these people. And I think eventually they will be in contact. They will establish contact with them. So watch that space. All right. And keep up putting on pressure on your reps. And uh, even if you get time and the heart and have the energy to send letters to the Republicans, letting them know how awful this is as a citizen. All right. All right. Thank you guys. Bye. See you tomorrow. Sunday at 3 Pacific. Love.